Moist Critical has done it again. He issued another $10,000 speedrun bounty where runners have 2 weeks to get as good of a time as possible. If you recall the Amok Runner video, we're doing it again, except this time the game is called Exodus from the Earth. The interesting thing and the difference between this game and Amok Runner is there was actually someone speedrunning this game a long time ago. A man by the name of deluxyze. The earliest run I could find from him was all the way back in February of 2018, and he kind of just left it in the past. It's a nice artifact to see the state of the game speedrunning by one person. Where did it start before all these people came in and started really breaking the game down because of Moist Critical's challenge. The game is broken up into various chapters. You're kind of just wandering around, shooting people, driving your car, and you're just killing people, killing aliens, killing robots, doing little missions, going out to space. And when the moderators started this challenge, they decided there would be no tampering of the game. You know, back in Amok Runner, there was an FPS cap that you had to kind of artificially tamper with the game to get it to work. They didn't want that again. They wanted the game to be clean, raw, authentic gameplay, and that's understandable. But the thing is, sometimes in speedrunning, there are things that are not so understandable, and the only way that you can really start to break it down is by tinkering with things. Not to give too much away, but spoiler alert, there were rule changes, there was drama, it was crazy. In general, these are the things that they found on day one. But first, let's talk about the one thing about Exodus from the Earth that absolutely breaks the game. Quick saving. Quick saving allows you to save at any point that you want. Whenever you want, you can load up any of these saves from a whole list of saves. Now, that alone is super nice. If you're ever trying to glitch, you can quick save right before and just keep reloading anytime you mess it up so that you don't have to start all the way over again. Being able to instantly reload made tricks and glitches a lot less scarier and a lot less riskier, which is really nice for speedrunning. Another interesting mechanic of this game is, for whatever reason, if you're just constantly teabagging, you will not get shot. I don't know if it's the enemies just respect your level of disrespect or the game is not that well made. Couldn't be that. It does completely prevent all damage. So anytime someone is fighting or shooting, you can just spam crouch and you just won't take damage. They also found in the first day ways to avoid fall damage. The main 2 ways that you can avoid fall damage completely is just quick save and quick loading spamming to lag the game. For whatever reason, when you lag the game hard enough, it just gives up on trying to give you fall damage. Or a perfectly timed jump as you land will allow you to avoid fall damage. And fall damage in this game, I'm not gonna lie, I could fall farther than some of these falls and I'd be fine. But this character is just made of paper and dies very easily. But thankfully, it's not an issue. The last general thing that players noticed was bunny hopping. This game runs on something called Riposte, which is basically a rip-off Source engine, which means that it has bunny hopping like a lot of Source games like Portal, Counter-Strike, and players who are well-versed in this definitely were able to show off their skills and were at an advantage when it came to running this game. That's all the stuff on day one. They're all somewhat little things. On their own, maybe they aren't that interesting, but when you start to combine them and you start really breaking into the game, that is when you find major sequence breaks. So back before this challenge even happened, remember our guy, deluxyze, being a huge pioneer? He found something called mine skip. To do this skip, you go up to this door, quick save as you open it, and if you do it just right, you'll be able to stay in this part of the map while being in the previous chapter. Then, by very carefully walking out of this edge and back forward, you can fall into this pipe. Then, if you're able to either time a perfect jump as you land to avoid fall damage, or just lag in your game by spamming saves, you will be able to then walk backwards through the pipe and completely skip the chapter that you're meant to do here. The first major skip that was found during the challenge is called raft skip. Raft skip is a fairly straightforward trick where you just approach the water with your car and get out of the car, and then as the car is rolling into the water, you get back into the car. It's that easy. Once you do that, you can just drive underwater and skip this entire sequence where you're meant to go on a raft, and it literally saves 3 minutes. Initially, when they first found this, you're meant to go through the water for a bit, then you drive all in these mountains, and it's a bit clunky, but they later found that checkpoints in this game are very, fucked. the checkpoint checks are huge. So even if you aren't on the road, but you're near it, you can essentially hit the checkpoint. So they found that you could just drive under this water the whole time by the road, hitting all the checkpoints with no care in the world like a boss. And it went from saving 3 minutes to 5 minutes. The next thing that was found also on the first day of the challenge was crane skip. And the crane skip is done by spamming save and reload on this slope, which allows you to barely clear this crane. However, they later found that crane skip is essential to reloading checkpoints. Certain checkpoints you cannot reload to unless you have already done the crane skip. Now, the big one. This is the time save that completely chunked Exodus from the Earth. This skip is called Chapter 13 skip. And it's called that because it skips you from Chapter 1 all the way to Chapter 13, saving 20 minutes. Now, this was found on the second day of the challenge, but it was mostly a theory, and no one was quite sure how to do it consistently. The only reason that this could even be a possibility is because, as I mentioned, for whatever reason, if you save while you have momentum from something and then load a different save, that momentum carries. In Chapter 13 skip, by climbing up this hand in the middle of the room, you're able to get up to this area that you're not even meant to be in, and you're able to get into this elevator. If you make a save while you're going up the elevator, and you come over to this hallway with a chair, or any object really, but loading the save that was on the elevator, and then reloading the save in the hallway allows you to carry some of that upward or downward momentum based on whether the elevator was going up or down. The first variations of this trick involved skipping up into the ceiling, then dropping down to the bottom and completing Chapter 13. However, eventually they learned that you could just pass over the edge of the wall here, and later they found that by just walking off this edge and dying as you enter this cutscene and spamming save would allow you to get a save off, which when you reload it basically puts you at the end of Chapter 13 and allows you to completely skip it. On day 3 of the challenge, Dam Skip was found. Dam Skip had its own version back in the original world record from deluxyze. However, it had been improved upon and it saves 2 minutes. To perform Dam Skip, you either need an object, or later they found you could use a grenade while you're on top of this car, and for whatever reason, the game normally would stop this car from getting pushed up because you're standing on top of it. But because if you throw a grenade, the game is somehow tricked into thinking that you aren't on top of the car, or there's space for the car to keep going up, and it keeps going up, and it clips you up and allows you to completely skip the dam portion of the chapter. A couple days would go by before they found something called Dirt Skip, which again, using this quick save momentum preserving mechanic, which you stand on this dirt block and then save. Then you walk over into where you want to clip, wait for the dirt block to fall down. You reload the save that was on top of the dirt block, so you get the downward momentum preservation. You reload the save that you made further up the conveyor belt, and if done right, allows you to clip right through the floor. Now, you might think this quick save preservation momentum stuff is cool, but just wait till you see the Mars launches. There's a point in the run where you go to Mars, and somehow while you're in Mars, you go even further to another Mars because you get absolutely launched into the sky. This is piggybacking on the whole quick save, but this time it's using a box which opens up with a grenade. You go up to this box, you open it up, get some grenades out of it, get some loot, then you close it up. Then you drop a grenade on top of the box, and then you open the box, but it can't open because the grenade is there. Then you make another save in which you're on top of this box, and you also place a grenade on this box. For whatever reason, these grenades, you can detonate them remotely with a button, or if you hit them with a grenade launcher, they explode. Now, this next thing is a little bit out there. This idea of preserving the momentum from a save and then getting launched makes sense. But what if you load further away? You wouldn't think that would make a difference, but it does. All right, now this is where things are gonna get a little bit hazy, but stick with me. So, you know planets? You know how they orbit, and they orbit around one central thing, and the planets that are closer orbit slower, and the planets on the far end generally have a pretty fast orbit. So imagine instead of orbiting around the sun, you are loading a save that is very far. The effect that the momentum carry has through loading the save is actually even bigger because we are loading it from a distance. Apart from these major skips, there were a lot of little things that kind of piled up over the course of the challenge. Brownie skip was a glitch that was also known about from deluxyze way back. deluxyze was talking to a wall, aka he made a speedrun.com thread where he was showing off a skip and talking about skips that he knows about but hasn't done in a run. One of them being brownie skip, which was actually used in the challenge, but it wasn't used in any of deluxyze's old records. But gotta give him credit where credit's due. At the end of the run, there's this robot guy thing that you have to drag into this box, and he can be a huge pain in the ass. However, they found with certain positioning, you could very easily drag him into the box consistently, saving up to 45 seconds or so. Not really a time save, but a cool little fun fact is if you don't kill these 2 turrets at this point in the run before going into this building, the game will crash. At the end of the game, you just shoot yourself with a rocket launcher into the cutscene, and as the final cutscene's playing, you get the "you died" cutscene, which is cool, but I mean, it's done. That's it. You beat the game. Quick saving and reloading with cars had this strange effect where you could just pass over these red walls, which normally you'd have to go do a mission nearby to open them up. By spamming, saving, and loading at these red walls with a car and reloading over and over again allows that momentum to cause almost full-blown flips over the wall. But all that aside, now what you're really here for, the drama. Remember when I said the community decided they weren't going to mess with the files at all of the game? Within 2 days, a patch for the game was made because in the Mars section of the game, these mutants have this call that alerts other mutants, and for whatever reason, it just has a memory leak. And this causes the quick saving, quick loading to start to take up to minutes. However, the reason that this caused discourse in the community is people argued that, well, it's partially skill because if you kill the mutants, then they can't do the call, therefore you don't have to worry about it, and killing the mutants is essentially a skill, being able to aim. The moderators decided, however, since it was not an intentional part of the game, they allowed a patch which fixed up this memory leak and made it so you didn't have to worry about killing the mutants. The next thing that happened was editing the file to change the FOV, because people were getting sick. The original FOV of the game, when you're trying to do bunny hopping and you're constantly switching back and forth, it is actually disorienting. On the 5th of February at 3:45 p.m., a vote started and it was put into effect hours later, much to everyone's well-being. These next changes were made about halfway through the challenge, 7 days in. Now at this point, things were changing in the game and the community was getting a little bit upset. People did not want to have to keep dealing with rule changes in the middle of the competition. However, they continued to happen. On February 6th, there was an FPS soft cap issued, and this allowed runners to lower their FPS down to 5, which made things a lot easier to do. Similar to a muck runner, where if you had higher FPS, things would launch you further, and if you had lower FPS, things would launch you not as far. In Exodus from the Earth, lower FPS allowed multiple benefits if you could switch it at any moment, like you're able to do things like Chapter 13 skip easier, prevent fall damage, and you could have this same effect in game by just spamming quick save, but being able to switch the FPS made it more consistent. And also at this time, there was an interesting change made, which was very convenient for runners, which was allowing the run to start from a save file. Because the game automatically makes a quick save upon entering and starting a new game, runners decided to just use this instead, as for whatever reason, sometimes your save can have bad physics. You can tell when you pick up an item, things are not going to work. You cannot do the tricks this way. Apparently it's based on the save files in the folder or some shit like that. It's some crazy shit. So by loading from the quick save the game gives you, you can consistently get the good physics, which allow you to do the cool stuff and the good things. So with all this in mind, let's talk about the world record and how it evolved and who would take home the crown as the champion of Exodus from the Earth. The run went from over an hour long to nearly under 20 minutes. Early in the game's history, spiceeTV, who had held multiple records during Charlie's first challenge with a muck runner, would hold records in this game as well. A new runner entered the scene. Unity_B is a portal runner who found his way quickly to the top of Exodus from the Earth. His ability to bunny hop was incredibly good, well practiced from Portal, and he would go on to hold multiple records as well. You also had Muty, a runner with a lot of Half-Life experience, as well as Zachruns, who had held multiple records during the Amok Runner challenge. Unity had still held the world record, but you had Muty and Zach fighting hard for it. Muty was on pace for record multiple times during the day, multiple chances at getting the record. However, unfortunately, he wasn't able to put together a run. and it would seem that maybe the record would settle for the full day. However, Unity had the run. Unity was able to end the run with a new world record and cutting the 21-minute barrier with a 20:58. Muty ended up getting second place, and Zach placed third. And that is the story of Exodus from the Earth. It's a crazy story, and it's awesome to see these challenges happening and see these runners show up and show what they can do in 2 weeks combined with a community that's so passionate. Thank you for watching, and have a good one.